Welcome back, guys, to Phoenix Wright, Trials and Tribulations as El Tigre, Furia Tigre, Don Tigre, whatever we want to call him, the Tiger, is testifying. And with tons of penalties on offer if we press, luckily everything seems to have been fairly obvious for this point, and we haven't need to press. Fairly obvious inconsistencies present themselves. As at the end of the last episode, he says he walked straight in and saw the grisly scene. However, floor plans wise states that you wouldn't be able to see at all unless you'd walk right in. Objection! We move on from there. You're something of a loan collecting pro, aren't you, Mr. Tigre? No one escapes the tiger's clutches. Well, I'm something of a lie detecting pro. And no one escapes the Phoenix clutches. I think it's time we got something straight. What's this, trite? A new line of irrelevant questioning? These are the floor plans of the crime scene. You say you were standing at the entrance, Mr. Tigre. From there, your field of vision would have covered an area something like this. Indeed, the witness would have had a clear view of the victim's seat. Isn't that what I just said? I saw the back of the kid's head. Unfortunately for you, that is not possible. There's a wall there. I was like, what the hell is the judge on about? He threw me so much I forgot Mr. Don Tigre's voice. If the court would think back, you remember that between each of the tables is a partition. Is a tool partition. Why? That's true. Now look at the plans again. The truth is painfully obvious. You'd have had to walk in to see that. From the entrance, the field of vision of any customer walking in ends here. Ah, sweating. We gotcha. So, from the entrance of Trebian, you couldn't have seen the victim's seat. But you did see the victim that day, because you met with him. Objection! Wrong. Have you forgotten the old man's testimony yesterday? The victim was alone at his table. No, that was a I don't know, I thought we'd already got over this stuff. Objection! But the defense just proved that point to be moot. The victim witnessed by Mr. Kudo was not Glen Elk, but a fake. What? In order to have Mr. Kudo falsely testify, the real killer posed as the victim he had just killed and acted out a charade. That will do. This trial has gone on long enough without the obvious question being answered. Who exactly was this real killer who impersonated the victim? You say the killer murdered Glen Elk and then impersonated his victim in a performance for Victor Kudo. In that case, Mr. Wright, reveal the identity of this criminal to the court. Well, it's obviously going to be the one with most to gain. Take that! Obviously, the killer is Furio Tigre. No one else could have done it. What? Well, witness, what do you have to say for yourself? Well, it seems to go mental. Nah, that's cute. Yous think you can pin this on the tiger? Maybe yous don't understand. The tiger is king of the jungle. So I dare you to say it again. Come on, you got the guts. I'd like to say, Phoenix has faced down a real tiger before. You can't threaten me, Mr. Tigre. It's the defense. Go ahead and tell the witness, Mr. Wright. Oh, Mr. Wright. Sounds to me like it must be you, old man. You've got guts, I'll give you that. Mr. Wright, do not leave me to handle this alone. You did it before. I think it's only fair. Ha! Perhaps I can end this embarrassment. Mr. Kudo! Let's just go back over Mr. Kudo's testimony one more time. The old man didn't see just the victim. Oh, no, no, no. The serving girl brought him a Javachino, but she put something in it. There's no question about it. She's very conspicuously put some white powder in there. Oh, that's the Kudo's voice. Was the victim he saw the real victim or not? That doesn't matter. The fact remains, he saw the accused put the poison into the coffee. Yes, it was the waitress who poisoned the coffee. But very impressive, Mr. Kudo. Waiting for my absence to launch your attack. Ha. Found your pen at last, trite. It was in my pocket. But anyway, Mr. Kudo witnessed two people that day. He saw the victim, the supposed Mr. Glen Elk, and the waitress, from behind. Yes, your point, Mr. Wright. I think the conclusion is obvious. If this Glen Elg was really the killer in disguise, then surely it's possible the waitress was also part of the show. What? You mean the waitress was an imposter as well? The defendant, Miss Bird, fell unconscious immediately after the incident. And someone used her fainting to hatch an elaborate plan to pin the murder on her. Who on earth was it? Who was this waitress that Mr. Kudo witnessed? Well, the only person it could be, with that stature and everything. Take that! Who is this woman? Her name is Viola Cadaverini. She's an employee of Tenderlander. You're making a big mistake. Do you know who Violetta's grandfather is? You better be going home in an armored truck tonight if you know what I mean. Yeah. Stop shaking, Nick. He's right though. Where was I? Yes, the defendant, Miss Bird, has stated the following. Well, when I took the coffee over to the victim's table, it's true there was another customer in the restaurant. She was sort of creepy. She had a kind of cackling laugh. Maybe I should give him the witch voice. I don't know. There are just too many contradictions in this case. The second man at the victim's table who nobody but Miss Bird seems to have seen. The earpiece worn by the victim in his left ear when that eardrum was ruptured. And the radio show he was supposedly listening to half an hour after it was over. There is only one logical explanation that clears up all of these contradictions. The whole incident took place twice, once for real and once for show. And Mr. Furio Tigre, the only person who could have committed the crime, is you! A witness? What have you got to say? You know I'm bang on. That's cute. Sorry? You's alright, I could do with a guy like you around. What do you mean? Okay, I'm in on this game. I'm gonna have to charter a jet to get me to my meeting now, but I'm gonna give yous one more thing to think about before I go. Something to think about? You's got it all wrapped up nice, alright. But you's missed out one real important thing. But that can't be. I was in the joint that day, and I met that kid too. But I couldn't have poisoned him, you see? What? Do you really expect us to believe you now, Mr. Tigre? Huh. What a troublemaker. Troublemaker? Looks like we're going to need another one for the road. That fresh brew. One more steaming cup of hot testimony. Indeed. A witness, you will explain yourself to the court. I will give you one more chance to testify. What happened that day at Trebian between yourself and the victim? What are the ties? Yeah, I loaned El Cash about $100,000. That day, he was due to have a little chat. The kid had hit his payback date, see? So anyway, he tells me he's got no way to pay up. I'm about to flatten the guy when he starts screaming. Yes, I won! $500,000! You got lucky, you know. Real lucky. If that waitress hadn't done what she done, everything would have been over. Now, I see that the principal amount you loaned to Mr. Elric was $50,000. Yeah, well, you've got the VIG to take into account. The VIG? VIG? Value added goods? I don't know what that stands for. Interest builds up fast, you know. That's faster than fast. $100,000 is twice his principal. And the repayment deadline was December 3rd, the day of the incident in question. Yeah, he was one lucky kid. He got that $500,000 just in time. So I ain't have no reason to kill the kid. And if I ain't got no motive, you ain't got no case. His motive? He has to have one, but what is it? Right, let me just say, before we go through down the Phoenix road of logic, his motive is he owes $1 million to a Don that he may or may not have paid off yet, or he's in massive debt, one or the other. That MC Bomber CD was there, which was worth a ton. How much would it say it was worth again? Potentially worth millions of dollars. There was something more valuable to him. Yeah, he could have paid back his loan, but it's all about Furio Tigre paying back his. But now we just gotta find the Phoenix road of logic. So am I still allowed to not press or not? I didn't get any warnings that time, and you know, warnings about warnings. So we learned about 100,000, we get that, that's a factoid. That day he was due to have a little chat, the kid had his payback day, see? That's fine. No way to pay up, about to flatten the guy when he starts screaming, he won. Right. Now the question is, either I'm getting another statement by pressing, but if we go through the testimony here, this is a fact. I mean, well, I guess it's a fact. Yeah. That was a fact. That was most likely a fact. He's a gambler. We know he loses a lot. This is a fact, probably. Well, you know, when he won. Yes, I won $500,000, but you got really lucky. That's a fact. If the waitress hadn't done what she'd done, everything would have been over. What had she done? You mean the poison? So you're pinning it on the waitress, like, purely? I say this is what I'm after. But I should have presented instead of pressed. Whoops. The waitress, you mean? I don't know what to present, though. The girl with the glass in the defendant's chair. Who else could I mean? If she hadn't got in the way, things would have been bada bing, bada boom. Over and done with. Maybe I should push a little on this. Oh, okay. Ask about what Maggie did. Ask how things would have been. No, asking what Maggie did is incriminating towards Maggie because you're saying that Maggie was there. How would things have been? What do you mean things would have been over and done with? Are you all there or what? I'm not talking about the cash. I was there to get my $100,000 back, that's all. I'm a businessman. It was all coming together before that waitress got on the way. As far as I can tell from the witness's testimony, other than recouping his loan, Mr. Tigre had no motive for killing the victim. Witness, you will amend your testimony to reflect what you just said. Okay, we got a bit extra. So I'm on the right line. The Tiger's motive, huh? Was after 100,000. I didn't have no reason to kill the guy. Bingo. It's MC Bomber. 100%. Objection! We got the line we needed by going past the facts and into the subjective territory. So you just intended to get back the $100,000 Mr. Elg owed you, correct? I'll own the guy the cash, so that's my right. Unfortunately for Mr. Elg, I don't believe the $100,000 is what you were really after. Objection! You want to wipe out your loan entirely. Your debt. To the Calorinis. What are you getting at, trite? What else would a moneylender be after other than money? Oh, the moneylender was after money. But money in a totally different league. The kind of money that a single disc like this would fetch. What is that? A computer virus, Your Honor. A virus called MC Bomber. A computer virus? What does one of those do? A computer virus is a program that wreaks havoc on the insides of a computer. A computer? What does one of those do? I guess the beard isn't the only part of His Honor that is from the Stone Age. I'll explain to you later, Your Honor. Right now, this is the important point. A virus like MC Bomber would be worth several $1 million on the black market. Several $1 million? Lending money with no hope of ever seeing repayment would normally be bad for business. But in this case, the very fact that Glenn Elg had no way to repay the money is crucial. What? Glenn Elg was a programmer, a highly skilled programmer. That skill was the collateral Mr. Elg put up in order to borrow the money. Objection! You're trying to suggest the witness's motive was to get hold of that program? Exactly. The witness may have poor fashion sense, but he is by no means an idiot, trite. A man like him could get his hands on $1 million without resorting to murder. Of course he could, provided that he had time. But what if he had needed the money right then? When the pressure's on, the luxury of choice tends to disappear. It seems you have a logical conclusion for this theory, Mr. Wright. Would you care to share it with us? Why did Mr. Tigre need money to the tune of $1 million? Now, I'm either... Oh, this is it. This is why. Take that! Or I'm doing the Don, I guess, the bigger Don. But this is correct. In December of last year, you found yourself in need of a huge amount of money. We're on that spiral towards the end, aren't we? About 6 months ago, you were involved in a traffic accident, weren't you? An accident involving a car and a scooter in which a young man young man might have been injured. He was hit after all. But the person in the car, the more sturdier mobile, got off way worse, in which a young woman was injured. She was taken to the hospital where she underwent surgery. How much do you know? These medical papers document the treatment of the young woman in question. According to these, her operation cost $1 million. And yet, when the payment was due last month, you somehow managed to pay it in full. Oh, $1 million? A preposterous sum. Someone should sue these HMOs. Ha! No one would pay a bill like that. If the medical association got wind of it, the hospital would end up as dead as a morgue. But Mr. Tigre had no choice but to pay, because his very life depended on it. Yeah, I'd yowl. Order! 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 You say his life depended on it, Mr. Wright? Indeed it did, simply because the injured woman was none other than Viola Cadaverini. Did you say Cadaverini? Bruto Cadaverini, mob boss in charge of all underworld activities in the city and doting grandfather to his precious Violetta, also known as Viola Cadaverini. He doesn't want any part of this case anymore, does he? Your life was in danger unless you paid compensation to the boss, correct? It makes sense. You were desperate to acquire the $1 million Bruto Cadaverini demanded of you. So desperate, in fact, you decided to sacrifice Glen Elg's life to pay your debt. On the day of the murder, Mr. Tigre's sole intention was to get his hands on this CD. Glen Elg had no way of paying back the $100,000, and Mr. Tigre knew it. But then a miracle happened. The kind that Mr. Tigre would prefer to say never happened, but he can't, and neither can I. The lottery win! Exactly. At the 11th hour, Mr. Elg won $500,000 on the lottery, which left Mr. Tigre with no way of getting his hands on the all-important CD. At least, no legitimate way. So he resorted to illegitimate means. That's crazy. He murdered Glen Elg, and then made his next move. To frame Maggie Bird for the crime, Mr. Tigre posed as Glen Elg, while Viola Cadaverini played the role of Miss Bird. And then they reenacted the whole thing in order to establish a witness. The witness being the one we all heard testify yesterday, Mr. Victor Kudo.
Objection!
Like I said, Trice, that's crazy. No one could pull off a stunt like that. For starters, there's no way the chef could have been kept in the dark about it.
Objection!
I don't think he was. But Mr. Armstrong was in on it from the very beginning. Have you forgotten already, Mr. Godot? Mr. Armstrong owed the witness money too. $500,000, in fact. He had no choice but to go along with Mr. Tigre's plan. An accessory, that's for sure. Order! Order! Silence while I clear the tiger yowls, roaring in the night. You've put on a good show, Spiky. If you want to stay alive in the loan shark business, you gotta be careful. You saying I dressed up like that kid, create a witness and frame someone? If I did something crazy like that, I'd leave a trail as bright as my shirt. I ain't dumb enough to do something sloppy like that. I agree. You do? Despite your appearance, you were very careful. That's why you took one more precaution. One more trick to make sure Miss Bird had no way out. Well, we know the end is coming, but we don't know how far off. But I can guess where this logic train is going. We're about to prove the identity theft, are we not? For now, I don't know how long it's going to go for. I don't know if there's going to be more twists. So we end it this episode. Either we're going to have a long one next time, or a short one. We'll find out next time. Phoenix Wright, Trials and Tribulations. Bye-bye.